Hi, this is Riddick Big Daddy Bowe, two-time former world heavyweight champion, and you're watching Cool True Sports.
True School Sports.
True School Sports.
There you go, champ. Thank you.
All right, so there's been a lot of discourse in the boxing community about Oleksandr Usyk, and we all know he's great. We all know that he is, well, at least those of us with sense know that he is in fact not just a good fighter, not just a great fighter, but he has become in a very short time in the heavyweight division one of the all-time great fighters in the division. And a lot of people may say well, Usyk can't be as great as some guys because he only had 7 or 8 fights, but shit, it ain't about quantity, it's about quality, and there's a whole lot of quality on that heavyweight resume. And you can only fight the guys in your era, right? So you can't take big old George Foreman and put him now because it just didn't work that way. There's different guys for different eras. Now, I've seen a lot of people going back and forth about Usyk versus Ali, and is Usyk better than Ali, and these kind of things. Look, I don't care what nobody says. There's one heavyweight on earth that I think would beat Oleksandr Usyk. All right, and he's an American heavyweight, And no, I ain't talking about Evander Holyfield, and I ain't talking about Mike Tyson. You want to know who would have beat Usyk? Who would have been a very, very, very tough matchup for Oleksandr Usyk? Riddick Bowe. Yes, I think Riddick Bowe at his best would have given Usyk a whole lot of problems. Because think about it, right? We saw in the second Joshua rematch, we saw Joshua fight that fight of being a bigger man a bit more, and he made that second fight a little bit closer. Now, if we're talking about frame and measurables, Bowe ain't too far off from Joshua. But the only thing is, Bowe is a much better fighter in terms of talent, skill set, durability. He is a much better fighter than Joshua. Riddick Bowe at his best had a piston-like jab. He had a granite chin, and he was a masterful inside fighter. There really wasn't anything that he lacked as far as skills are concerned. All of Bowe's problems stem from stuff that had nothing to do with being inside the ring. Inside the ring, Bowe had it all. He had durability, he had a chin, he had speed, he had fundamentals, he had power, he had inside fighting ability, outside fighting ability, mid-range fighting ability. There wasn't anything that he did not have. So I feel like when you talk about Riddick Bowe, you're talking about someone who has the size, or isn't that far off the size of today's current heavyweights, but he has a lot of those little man skills that, a guy like Usyk would have. You gotta remember, when Bowe was an amateur fighter in the New York City Golden Gloves, he didn't win all of his Golden Glove titles at heavyweight. He was a smaller fighter. He physically matured a little bit later in his adolescent years to become that 6'5" or whatever he was, 6'6", big strong heavyweight. So the way he fought as a smaller guy in his amateurs as a lighter fighter, he carried that with him to being a heavyweight. So I think these things would have given Usyk problems because the biggest advantage that Usyk has had over these big, lumbering heavyweights like Joshua, like Dubois, and even like the version of Tyson Fury he fought is that these guys, they don't really, they don't have dimensions. They don't have these kind of dimensions. Fury, I can't remember right now if it was the first fight or second fight, but one of the 2 fights he fought Fury, and I'm gonna say it was the first fight. He had a lot of success when he got on his toes and he was boxing Usyk. And then, eventually the accuracy of Usyk caught up to him and he got away from his game plan. Bowe can box that way for 12 rounds, but the thing is, it doesn't really matter what fight Usyk decides to fight in. I think Riddick Bowe will have an answer for him because, again, when you have the size that he had, 6'5", 6'6", somewhere around there, but then you have the skills he had on the inside. If Usyk gets close to him, Bowe will know how to fight on the inside. He's got that ability to block on the inside, fight on the inside, shorten his punches. Those are things he did very, very well. A lot of these guys, like Joshua, can't fight on the inside. Fury he wasn't in his optimum condition when he fought Usyk. And truth be told, Fury hasn't been in his optimum condition in a long time. But you know what I mean? And then Dubois, very limited as well. So, but look, all these guys I'm naming for all the limitations they did have, they've all had some sort of success against Usyk. Dubois, that shot that Dubois landed, that was a controversial body shot. Bowe could land that shot even better. He would have landed that shot a little higher up and really hurt Usyk. Usyk doesn't like body shots. Bowe would land those type of body shots, and yeah, if there's one guy from yesteryear that I have I have like zero shadow of a doubt in my mind that Usyk will lose to, I would say Riddick Bowe would be the best bet at that. Everyone else, like the people want to name, I'd give Usyk. One thing about Usyk that's so great is that, like, even like when fights get close, I don't want to steal this guy's thoughts, but I heard him say this and it made a lot of sense. So I'll give this guy his just due and his full credit. Stephen Breadman Edwards, the fantastic trainer, he said that basically Usyk is the best fighter in boxing at winning clutch rounds. When you're in a close fight and you need a round, Usyk seemingly always tends to get those rounds, whether it's against Marius Briedis, whether it's against Tyson Fury, Joshua, whomever the case may be. He was always able to get those clutch rounds. So that's probably his best attribute. It's not even it's not even his footwork, it's not even his accuracy. It's just his IQ and his ability to recognize what he needs to do at a certain point in the fight. So I think in a fantasy fight, right? And this is like a fantasy fight video. I feel like Bowe would give Usyk a lot of problems and potentially beat him. I really believe that. And I'm not just saying that for Usyk. I feel like Riddick Bowe could beat a lot of heavyweights. Obviously, people will say like, well, BT, Riddick Bowe wasn't even that good. His prime was for one night. And my answer to that question would be, if his prime only was for one night, then he damn sure picked a great night for it to be against the undefeated, prime, undisputed Evander Holyfield, one of the greatest heavyweights of all time. If you're going to pick a night to have your prime, I'm glad it was that one. And look, it's not like you could debate who's better between Usyk and Holyfield. Some people will say it's Holyfield. Many people will say Usyk. Look, Holyfield comes from the same build as Usyk, so Bowe already has that experience fighting that type of heavyweight, that smaller, shorter, compact heavyweight. Who's not a super heavyweight, but can move around the ring and throw a lot of punches and those kind of things. Obviously, they're not the same because Usyk comes from the Ukraine school of boxing. Holyfield's comes from like that old school 80s American school of boxing. So it's different. Their approaches are different, but the build and some of the attributes they have are very similar. And Riddick Bowe he had a lot of success against those kind of guys. Holyfield, even Herbie Hyde later in his career when Bowe wasn't even that great anymore, I still beat him easily. So yeah, just thinking out loud here as I go for my walk. Usyk is good enough to beat any heavyweight ever, and of course he could be a guy like Riddick Bowe. Of course he could be a guy like Lennox Lewis or even any heavyweight. Listen. Usyk is so great he could have fought at any era and he'd have a chance to beat any heavyweight. He's cut from that cloth. But if I had to name a guy that I think would be wrong for him, that's the guy that I think would be wrong for him is the former undisputed heavyweight champion himself, the former fellow undisputed champion. Because remember, he did not as many times as Usyk, but he accomplished the same feat, which is become the undisputed heavyweight champion. Albeit in the 3-belt era, not the 4, but he was still undisputed for that time. So listen, Riddick Bowe ain't no bum. Riddick Bowe ain't no chopped liver. Riddick Bowe can fight his ass off, and I just think in that fight, Usyk would have some problems. So let me know what you guys think. What do you rank Oleksandr Usyk all time? For me, honestly, I would say, without having to think, and people may not like it, but I think Usyk's the top 10 heavyweight of all time. I think he's in the top 10. Not like the high parts of the top 10, but I think he's in the top 10. If he had more fights and there was, I guess, better competition, I would probably place him a little higher, but I think he's in the lower top 10. Hell yeah. Especially when you consider that we've had a guy like Evander Holyfield come and make that jump to heavyweight, but man, he didn't do it like the way Usyk jumped from cruiser to heavyweight. Nah, Holyfield had a great run and he was in a lot of great fights and he's one of the greatest fighters of all time, but he wasn't dominating like Usyk. Now, the argument you can make is that, well, of course, BT, he wasn't dominating like Usyk because really and truthfully, the fighters today in his era suck compared to when Holyfield fought. There's no Lennox Lewis in this heavyweight division. There's no Riddick Bowe in this heavyweight division. There's none of those guys. There's not even a Mike Tyson in this division. So how you going to sit here and flap your gums and say he's better than Holyfield? And all I can say is, look, you can only fight the guys of your era. And I thought Holyfield did. I think Usyk has done a great job of not just fighting the guys of his era, but like cleaning up the division. Like the only guy left for him to fight is Joseph Parker. But anyway, I'm rambling. You guys, give me your comments down below. Make sure you guys take the time to subscribe. And like I say in every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kid from Dania. So until next time, thank you for watching another video on the untouchable True School Sports Empire. For more great boxing content just like this, make sure you guys stay tuned and subscribe. You won't be disappointed.